Hello, welcome to the video. Today we're gonna take a look at the future Paradox forms for Pokemon Go, and we're gonna take a look today if those going to be viable or not. So, if you like those type of videos, you know what you can do. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. We're getting close to the 50-50 split, so if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to check it out and just subscribe for free. Anyway, we're gonna start right into the video today with the first Pokemon here, Iron Threats. I think it is going to be basically a Steelix or Excadrill for the Master League, and that's kind of the issue actually for this Pokemon. This Pokemon here has better stats, I think, than Excadrill. I think it's just slightly better stats. I think it's kind of similar, to be fair. But it's going to have the same typing of Ground and Steel. Having access to moves like potential moves, again, like those moves are not in the code yet, other than for one Pokemon, but potential moves of Mudshot, Rollout, Volt Switch. Volt Switch is like coverage move, does make a lot of sense. Potential charge moves could be High Horsepower, Heavy Stem, or Wild Charge. So let's take a look if those Pokemon, like this Pokemon, is going to be decent. We're gonna see already. Average rating of 444 is not ideal and not really great for this meta, and you're gonna see as well here it's going to be for me a C tier grade, so pretty bad to be fair. Still has some potential against Pokemon like Zekrom or against Dialga. There's a great typing against, you will always be able to win against that Pokemon. But in general, it's not going to be the greatest. But maybe in the future, there might be move updates. I could see that Heavy Slam gonna get buffed in the future. I feel like this would be a move that has definitely potential for that. But so far, we have to see and wait what is going to happen, and we can move on to the next Pokemon. Moving on now, we're going to see here the Iron Bundle. This Pokemon basically only get one fast move, which is good for Pokemon Go actually, because it's going to be Powder Snow. Powder Snow is a very good fast move for the game. Being Ice type here, this is an Ice and Water type Pokemon. It is going to have also access to Icy Wind, which is quite likely for this Pokemon as well. Same as Water Pulse, Drill Peck, and Hydro Pump. So quite some decent moves here. Water Pulse, of course, is not really ideal, but kind of maybe balances this Pokemon. An Ice and Water type Pokemon that has a very high CP is kind of nice after like Pokemon like Dugong and Lapras are kind of more locked towards like lower CP ranges. This Pokemon has some more potential, as you're gonna see here. I don't know why it goes so weird, by the way. But as you're gonna see here, for me it's an A tier grade Pokemon, especially if you're going to get Icy Wind. This Pokemon might be a very solid option for the two-shield scenario, especially. It is on the squishier side. You see here already a very high attack stat and a very low stamina stat, so it is going to hit pretty hard, but it's not going to be able to take too many hits. So it's going to be a frail one, but I think it's going to be an interesting one for sure. So, next one is going to be the Iron Hand. We're going to see here as well that this Pokemon is going to have an interesting typing of Electric and Fighting. It's going to have Volt Switch, Close Combat, and a Wild Charge as options for this Pokemon. Thunder Punch is also an option, but I was expecting way more of this Pokemon, I have to say. Like, I was really hoping this Pokemon could change things up, but the typing itself is just not great for the Master League right now. I doubt that it's going to be too much better in other leagues either. Best league might be even the Ultra League for this, I'm not too sure, but like here, all the Pokemon like Dragonite or whatever, like all the Dragon type Pokemon are going to be very decent against it. Yes, you have Close Combat as coverage for like Dialga, but still like the stats don't really help. And also, if you take a look at this Pokemon on PvPoke right now, you're going to see different stats because it has not yet the 9% nerf that it would get and that it will be able to get later on when that's going to be released. Here I put already the 9% nerf into it because at level 40 it goes above 4000 CP, which always causes a nerf in Pokemon Go for any kind of Pokemon. So yeah, it's sadly affected by the nerf, which is going to make this Pokemon not really ideal and not really that strong. But yeah, it is what it is. We can move on to the next one. Next one, going to be the Iron Jugulis, which is going to have access to fast moves like Snarl and Dragon Breath. Very sad that it doesn't have a Wing Attack. I feel like a Wing Attack would have made a lot of sense for this Pokemon, would have helped this Pokemon out quite a bit. Dark and Flying is just a little bit unfortunate because there's Yveltal, and Yveltal just going to have better stats. Has Oblivion Wing, has Snarl already, and so it's doubtful that this Pokemon has any play over that thing. It is still kind of an okay Pokemon to play, but yeah, it's just like a worse Yveltal, and so sadly Iron Jugulis is most likely not going to have too much play in the Open Master League. Moving on, unlike the Slitherwing, this Pokemon has a little bit more potential, just a little bit. Fire and Poison is an interesting type, it is a cool type. It is pretty bad defensively, I would say, because you have that double weakness to Ground, you have the weakness to Water, you have a weakness to Psychic, you have quite a lot of weaknesses. But you have at least here for this Pokemon super effective fast moves with Fire Spin, like stab fast moves like Fire Spin as well as Ember. You don't have any Poison type fast move. It would learn a Venoshock, which in my opinion might be an interesting option for a Poison type fast move in the future of Pokemon Go, but currently is not in the game. Otherwise, Charge Move potentially, Flame Charge, Acid Spray, Lunge, or also the Sludge Wave. We can take a look at this Pokemon as well, and as you guys see, it is going to be an okay Pokemon, but it is not going to be a great Pokemon at all, and so for me, again, a C-tier pick. It's not going to change a lot in the meta, but as you can see, pretty high CP. Luckily, just barely doesn't go above 4000 CP at level 40, which allows it to not avoid the 9% nerf, and so it will have great stats, but it is not going to have a great typing, and at the current time, not a great move pool either. Moving on, we're going to have the next one, Iron Thorns, going to have potential fast moves of Smackdown and Volt Switch. This is going to be definitely an interesting one here, of course, the Tyranitar of the future, having great CP of 4250, just a little bit below the normal Tyranitar, but still very solid. Still keeping a double weakness, in this case, to Ground with a Rock and Electric, but yeah, going to still have very good stats here for sure. Wall Charge and Rock Slide is very cool as well. Issue is that this Pokemon kinda gets walled by the Alga, and also is pretty weak against most of the other Pokemon that are currently available. The offense is not the issue for this Pokemon. It has a great offensive typing, but pretty bad defensive typing, and we gotta see here as well, pretty hard loss against something like a Palkia because it's just going to outspeed you, or a Zygarde because it completely walls you, so I doubt that this Pokemon is going to have a lot of potential, even though it has great stats, just because the typing is just not really doing it for it in the current meta at least. But still a cool Pokemon for the future. Also like the shiny form of this Pokemon, but yeah, sadly Iron Thorns are not going to be the best. The best is going to be this one. This Pokemon has by far the most potential of any future Pokemon. It is going to have just great moves basically. Like if you take a look at all the moves that it can learn, there are so many great ones for PvP that I doubt that this Pokemon is ever going to be like, I don't know, like not good or anything like this. Very likely to get Leaf Blade, very likely to get Close Combat, very likely to get Moonblast. Icy Wind I doubt, and Night Sash might be the case, but I doubt as well. Psycho Cut is more likely, most likely than the Shadow Claw, but Shadow Claw is also an option for this Pokemon. Honestly, Fairy and Fighting typing is a great typing as well, defensively, especially for the current meta, as he can resist the Dragon Breath damage, which is very important in the current meta. And as you're gonna see here, an average of 568. This Pokemon is the one that I'm looking forward to the most. It is going to be so overpowered for the upcoming Master League, or like whenever this Pokemon gonna get released, very likely like in a year or something. And as you're gonna see, it has a lot of potential. Like again, like depending on what kind of move it gets, like it can basically destroy everything. And so I'm curious on how good it's actually going to be, because as you're gonna see, it is a very, very frail Pokemon. That's like kind of the only thing that's holding it back, but I like this. I like frail Pokemon that are fast and spammy and like strong in terms of that, because Bulk is kind of king for PvP, and if you have like frail Pokemon taking over, I just like this because games are faster, games are more fun, games are a little bit more risky than just like throwing every ace on like a Carbink or whatever. So definitely cool Pokemon, can't wait to play this one. Next one, this is the only one where the stats and as well the Dragon Tail and stuff like this, like the fast moves and charge moves, that's what I want to say, are already in the code, and so it's going to be Miraidon having access to Dragon Tail, Thunder Shock, Outrage, Thunder, Dragon Pulse, as well as Hyper Beam. I could see this change before it's gonna get released. Also, it's still going to have access to eventually like its signature move, so it is looking pretty bad. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's looking pretty bad. I still gave it a B tier grade because I feel like there's a lot of potential that it can work with. Basically, all the other Pokemon on today's video are basically the best moveset that he could run on those Pokemon. Here, this is the moveset that's currently in the code, which is not the best that this Pokemon could learn. There are other moves that it would be able to learn as well. I think like Breaking Swipe or stuff like this that would just help this Pokemon out immediately. So we have to see when this Pokemon gets released on how the moveset is going to be. But sadly, currently it does not look to be a good Pokemon to play in the Go Battle League. Different is this for the Iron Leaves, and maybe I actually did give this the wrong tier as well, but let's take a look here at the moveset. Quick Attack, Leaf Blade, Close Combat, Night Slash, Mega Horn, Magic Leaf. You see basically no Psychic type moves. I think it learns Psychic, but I just didn't want to add it because Psychic is just a garbage move. It has a signature move called Psy Blade, and if this is going to be added, it might be even more viable than it is right now. But as you're going to see here, this Pokemon has so much potential, and has just great coverage for the current meta, allowing you to hit something like The Dialga for super effective damage is kind of nice, and it's just like going to be quite a decent Pokemon to use, as you can see here as well. Very bad against Ho-Oh though, but like that is what it is. I gave it only the A tier grade just because of the typing. That's kind of the issue for the future forms compared to the Paradox forms in general. Paradox forms typings are usually way better compared, like the past Paradox typings are better than the future Paradox typings. Here, Psychic and Grass has, I think, like 7 weaknesses or something, with like Dark, Ghost, Ice, Flying, double weakness to Bug. Like there are so many weaknesses to those types, it is kind of sad. So like it's not going to be too great in terms of a defensive typing, but has a lot of potential offensively, and so I think it's going to be a great Pokemon for PvP. Iron Boulder next. This Pokemon actually learns Counter, which is cool. Like, Counter is a very rare move, by the way, in the newer generation, because there is no TM for Counter, and there's no, for example, for those Pokemon, there's no breeding for this move. So this Pokemon actually learns it on its own. It doesn't have Stab on it because it loses the Fighting typing, gains the Psychic typing in the Paradox form, but also would have access to Psycho Cut. Both of them are going to be decent moves here. We're actually going to take a look at the Sacred Sword Stone Edge variant here, which is going to only have like Stab with the Stone Edge there as well, but still going to have some potential. It's going to be a little bit of an upgrade compared to the Terrakion most likely as well. And so this has some potential. Gonna get it with the A tier grade. Definitely has some potential for the future. So cool Pokemon for sure. Kinda excited for Iron Boulder. Final one is going to be Iron Crown, and this is going to be a Pokemon that kinda really needs its signature move, because the moveset otherwise just doesn't really help. It has a Steel type signature move that might be something that is also a little bit cheaper on energy. So yeah, this Pokemon has some potential in the future for sure. Right now, it is kind of okay still for me, B tier grade. Again, like you can play it, it's not the best one. There's just, like for example, Solgaleo has the same typing, just has better moves and just a better Pokemon. So yeah, Iron Crown, not gonna be the greatest, but there are quite some decent Pokemon here today. Kind of disappointed for like the main ones, like the ones that are spawning everywhere in Scarlet and Violet. But like the legendaries and like kind of the best one of them all, the Iron Valliant, is kind of decent for PvP, at least for the future. So definitely something to look forward to. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of look into the future. If you haven't seen a look into the past, it's on the screen right now. Check the video out, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.